The arena of Karzun was older than memory. Its stone rings had watched wars, trials, and executions. Today, it watched a human. Lady Valera stood on the high balcony, her silver robe still, her face calm. Around her, her maids whispered behind folded hands. They had never seen a human fight. Humans were small, soft, and loud, at least that was what the stories said. Below, the crowd roared as the champion entered. Goroth the Unbroken walked into the light. He was tall even for his kind, his skin plated with natural armor, his arms heavy with muscle. He had never lost. His victories were carved into the arena walls, one mark for each life taken. The roar became laughter when the human stepped forward. He wore no armor, no heavy blade, only simple combat clothing and a calm expression. His name was Elias Ward, a captured traitor. A nobody. "This is mercy," an elder had said earlier. "Let the human die fast." Lady Valera believed that too. She leaned forward. Bored already. The law demanded a duel because the human had spoken out of turn. A ritual, nothing more. The horn sounded. Goroth charged. The ground shook as the champion moved. The crowd screamed in joy. This was how it always went. Power crushed. Weakness, order was restored. Elias did not run. He watched at the last second. He moved not away, but in. His body twisted under the first swing. A second arm missed him by a breath. Gasps rippled through the stands. Goroth roared, angry now. Elias struck. It was not loud, not flashy. He used speed, not strength. A sharp blow to a joint. A step inside. The guard. Another strike, precise and cold. Goroth stumbled. The laughter died. Lady Valera's breath caught. She had never seen anyone touch Goroth like that. Not once. The champion attacked again, wild now. Elias met him head on. He grabbed one of Goroth's arms and turned, using the champion's own force. There was a sound deep and final. "Goroth!" screamed in one brutal motion. Elias broke him. Armor cracked. Flesh tore. The champion fell apart under forces he could not control. Silence swallowed the arena. Goroth the Unbroken lay broken. Elias stepped back, breathing hard. His hands shook, but he stayed standing. For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. Then the arena lights changed. Ancient symbols flared to life along the walls. Red lines burned into stone. The crowd fell to its knees as one. The law had awakened. Lady Valera felt the blood drain from her face. "No," she whispered. The elders stood, their voices unsteady. "The trial of supremacy is complete." A cold, mechanical voice echoed from the arena core, old as the empire itself. "Champion defeated. House broken. Ownership transfer pending." The words hit like a blade. Ownership. Lady Valera's house was tied to Goroth. He was her shield, her power, her right to rule. Without him, the law saw her as defeated. She looked down at the human again. Elias stared at the lights in confusion. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice rough but steady. No one answered him. The maids behind Lady Valera trembled. Some cried quietly. They knew the law, every noble did. It was written to shame enemies, to punish rivals. A law meant to be used against others, never against them. An elder finally spoke, his voice shaking. "By ancient decree, the victor claims the defeated house." Elias frowned. "Claims how?" Lady Valera's nails cut into her palms. She forced herself to stand tall. She would not scream. She would not beg. She had been raised better than that. The elder swallowed. "By law, you are now bound to him. You and all under your seal." The word was not spoken aloud, but everyone knew it. Concubines. The crowd buzzed with fear and shock. Some stared at Elias with hatred, others with terror, a few with awe. A human had broken their system with bare hands. Elias looked up at the balcony. His eyes met Lady Valera's. She expected hunger, pride, cruel joy. She saw none of it. Only shock. I didn't ask for this, he said. That made her heart race more than the fight had. The lights dimmed. The law was sealed. Guards moved, not toward Elias, but toward her. Lady Valera lifted her chin as she was escorted away from the balcony. Her world was collapsing, but one truth burned in her mind. This human was not a beast, and that terrified her more than Goroth ever had. The holding chamber beneath the arena was cold and quiet. Smooth metal walls reflected pale blue light, making everything feel unreal. Lady Valera stood still in the center of the room, her hands clasped behind her back. Her maids stood close together, their eyes low, their bodies tense. None of them spoke. The law had been sealed. There was no appeal, no delay. Ancient systems older than the empire itself had accepted the result. Goroth was dead. Her house was broken, and a human now stood at the center of it all. Elias Ward sat on a bench across the room, his elbows on his knees, staring at his hands. Dried blood darkened his sleeves. His face was pale, not with pride, but with weight. He had killed before war left its marks, but this was different. This was ritual. This was law. He looked up when the door hissed open. 3 elders entered, their long robes heavy with symbols of authority. They moved slowly, as if afraid the ground itself might reject them. Human Elias Ward, the lead elder said, his voice formal but uneasy. By the trial of supremacy, you are declared victor. Elias stood. I don't want rewards. I just want to leave. The elders exchanged looks. One of them lowered his gaze. That is not how this works. Lady Valera felt a sharp twist in her chest. She had heard those words spoken to others before. Never had they sounded so cruel. The lead elder raised his staff. A projection flared between them, ancient text, glowing and absolute. The law states, when a champion falls, the house bound to that champion is claimed by the victor. Protection, authority, ownership. Elias stiffened. Ownership of what? Number. One answered at first. Lady Valera stepped forward. Of us, she said calmly. Her voice did not shake, though every part of her wanted it to. My house, my maids, my title, all bound to you by law. Elias stared at her, disbelief clear on his face. That's insane. It is tradition, an elder replied weakly. Elias laughed once, sharp and humorless. Then your traditions are broken. Silence followed. The elders did not argue. They did not need to. The system had already decided. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. Transfer complete, the ancient voice announced. Lady Valera closed her eyes for a moment. This was real. Guards entered, but they did not restrain her. Instead, they bowed to Elias. That single gesture shook her more than chains ever could. Elias noticed. His jaw tightened. Stop that. The guards froze, confused. They bow to authority, an elder explained. You are now responsible. For them. Responsible, Elias repeated slowly. He looked at Lady Valera again, really looked this time, not as a prize, not as a symbol, but as a person standing at the edge of ruin. She met his gaze without flinching. If you fear, I will resist, she said. You misunderstand me. I obey the law. That's not what I want, he replied. That answer unsettled her. They were escorted through long corridors away from the arena. The cheers above had turned into whispers. News spread faster than light. A human had not only one he had claimed a noble house. Alien eyes followed them. Everywhere, some burned with hatred. Others with fear. They reached a private transport chamber. The doors sealed behind them. For the first time since the fight, they were alone. Elias exhaled slowly. I didn't come here to take lives or whatever this is. Lady Valera studied him. She had been trained to read power, to sense danger. This human was dangerous, but not in the way she expected. You fought because you had no choice, she said, double quote, yes. And now you stand where you never wished to stand. Yes, he said again, more quietly. Her maids shifted behind. One of them, the youngest, looked up at Elias with frightened eyes. He noticed. You don't have to be scared, he said. That broke something inside her. No victor had ever said that. The transport activated. Stars stretched into lines outside the viewport. Where are we going? Elias asked. To your assigned residence, Lady Valera replied. By law, my house must remain under your protection. He shook his head. I don't want prisoners. She tilted her head slightly. Then do not treat us as such. The transport hummed softly as it jumped to hyperspace. Lady Valera felt the weight of history pressing down on her. Everything she had known was gone. Her power, her certainty, her future. Yet, for the first time, she wondered something dangerous. What if this human did not rule by fear? As the stars vanished, one truth became clear to her. The law had bound them together, but what came next was no longer written. The residence assigned to Elias Ward was not small. It was a fortress. High walls of dark alloy surrounded the compound, guarded by silent drones and old automated cannons. This place had once belonged to war heroes and royal champions. Now, it belonged to a human who looked uncomfortable standing inside it. Elias stopped at the main hall entrance and stared. You live here? He muttered. Lady Valera stood beside him, her posture straight, her face controlled. You do now, she replied. This estate recognizes you as head of the house. The doors opened on their own. Inside, soft lights revealed wide halls, alien art, and symbols of power carved into every surface. The maids stepped in quietly, their movements careful, trained. They waited for orders that did not come. Elias rubbed the back of his neck. This is insane. No one disagreed. An automated voice echoed gently. House authority detected. Please. Issue command. Elias flinched. Turn that thing off. There was a pause. Command accepted. The voice went silent. Lady Valera watched him closely. Most victors would have enjoyed this moment. They would have tested their power. Issued commands. Taken control. Elias did none of that. He turned to face them all. Listen, he said, his voice firm but not loud. I didn't choose this. I'm not here to own anyone. One of the maids looked up in surprise. Another frowned, confused. That is not how the law works, Lady Valera said carefully. Then the law is wrong, Elias replied. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Be careful, human. Defying ancient law brings consequences. So does following bad ones, he said. Silence filled the hall. Finally, he pointed down one corridor. There are rooms, right? Everyone take one. Lock your doors if you want. No one is forcing anyone to do anything. The maids exchanged uncertain looks. That includes you, he added, looking directly at Lady Valera. That unsettled her more than chains ever could. Later that cycle, Lady Valera stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city lights. This world had once bowed to her. Now it whispered behind her back. She felt exposed, reduced. Footsteps sounded behind her. Elias stopped a few steps away, careful not to crowd her. I hope this place is acceptable. It is excessive, she said honestly. He gave a small smile. Good, I hate excessive. She studied him in the dim light. His shoulders were tense. His eyes were tired. This was not a conqueror enjoying victory. Why did you fight Gorith the way you did? She asked. He leaned against the railing. Because he was stronger. I had to be smarter. That strike, she said quietly. No one has ever done that. Elias looked at his hands again. Humans don't survive by being the biggest. We survive by adapting. Her world had been built on strength, on dominance, on champions like Gorath. And now, one human had shattered that idea. You know the galaxy is watching you, she said. I know, he replied. They fear what you represent. That makes two of us. Below them, patrol lights moved across the city. Somewhere far away, powerful beings were already planning. She could feel it. Political pressure, military interest, revenge. You are not safe, she warned. Elias nodded. Neither are you. That surprised her. I am no longer important. You're wrong, he said. You know their systems, their laws, their tricks. I don't. She turned to face him fully now. You would trust me? I don't trust the Empire, he answered. But you stood in that arena and didn't lie. That matters. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Inside the fortress, alarms suddenly chimed. Soft, controlled, incoming signal, a system voice announced. High Council priority. Lady Valera's expression hardened. They will demand obedience. Let them, Elias said. The message appeared as a hologram. Several high-ranking officials stared down at them, their faces cold. Human Elias Ward, one said. You will present the bound house for inspection. Elias crossed his arms. No, a ripple of shock passed through the holograms. You do not refuse council orders, another snapped. I just did. Elias replied calmly. Lady Valera felt something shift inside her. Fear, yes, but also something new. Hope. You misunderstand your position, the lead official warned. You are a tool of the law. Elias stepped forward. I'm not your tool. And they are not your property. The transmission cut abruptly. Silence followed. Lady Valera exhaled slowly. You have just made powerful enemies. Elias looked at the stars above the city. I've had worse. She watched him, truly watched him, and understood something dangerous. This human was not trying to rule. He was trying to change the rules. And if he succeeded, the galaxy would never be the same. The fortress woke before dawn, not with alarms or commands, but with quiet movement. Drones shifted patrol routes. Defense systems adjusted without orders. Something unseen was watching. Lady Valera felt it the moment she opened her eyes. The air was tense. She dressed slowly, choosing simple robes instead of the symbols of her former rank. Power meant nothing here now. Or so she thought. When she entered the main hall, she found Elias already awake. He stood near a holographic table, studying star maps and data feeds. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp. You sensed it too, he said without turning. Yes, she replied. They are testing you, Elias nodded. They always do. One by one, the maids entered the hall. They moved more freely now, less afraid. One even spoke without being addressed, something unthinkable before. External ships are adjusting orbit, she said softly. Military pattern. Lady Valera's breath tightened. That is not an inspection. Elias tapped the table. The display zoomed out, showing 3 alien cruisers hovering just outside restricted space. They want me to react, he said. Fear, anger, submission. And if you do not? She asked. A small smile touched his lips. Then they don't know what to do. Moments later, a formal summons arrived. A command, not a request. Present the bound house for compliance verification. Immediate. Lady Valera read it once. Then again. If we refuse, they will call it rebellion. Elias looked at her. Do you believe the law is just? She hesitated. Old answer came easily. Yes, the trained answer. The safe answer, but she remembered Gorath falling. Remembered the fear in the arena. Remembered how easily the law turned her into property. No, she said finally. It is powerful, not just. Elias nodded. Then we don't comply. The maids exchanged nervous glances. They may use force, one whispered. Elias's voice remained steady. Then they will learn something. The cruisers moved closer. Citywide broadcasts lit up. Citizens watched from homes and towers. This was no longer private. It was a test played out before the galaxy. A council representative appeared as a hologram above the courtyard. "Human Elias Ward," he declared. "You are instructed to surrender the bound individuals for lawful review." Elias stepped forward into open view. He did not raise his voice. "I refuse." Gasps rippled through the watching crowd. "You stand alone," the representative warned. "Your species has no standing here." Elias looked up at the ship's inn. "The sky, that's where you're wrong. Humans stand wherever they choose." A pause. Then the council ship powered weapons, just enough to threaten. Lady Valera felt her instincts scream. She stepped forward beside Elias, surprising even herself. "She stands with me," Elias said calmly. The representative sneered. "She is bound. Her will is irrelevant." Lady Valera lifted her chin. "No, my will is my own." That single sentence echoed across the feeds. The council hesitated. This was not how obedience looked. Elias raised his hand slightly. The fortress defenses came online, not firing, not threatening, but visible, controlled, ready. "This is protection," he said, "not aggression." The council ship paused behind Lady Valera. The maid stood taller. Fear was still there, but something else was growing. Respect. Finally, the hologram flickered. "This matter will be reviewed." The ships pulled back. Not retreat. Recalculation. As the sky cleared, Lady Valera exhaled a breath she did not know she had been holding. "You risked war," she said quietly. Elias looked at her. "So did you." She turned to him. "Why?" He considered the question. "Because power that only takes isn't strength. It's weakness." Those words stayed with her. Later that cycle, as calm returned, Lady Valera gathered the maids in a small chamber. They looked to her, waiting for direction. "We are not prisoners," she told them, "and we are not trophies." One of them asked, voice shaking, "Then what are we?" Lady Valera thought of the human who broke a champion, then broke a law. "Without lifting a weapon, we are witnesses," she said, to something new. Across the city, rumors spread. A human had refused ownership. A noble had chosen loyalty freely. The council had stepped back, not because of fear, but because they no longer understood the rules. Lady Valera returned to the balcony that night. Elias stood there again, watching the stars. "You changed things today," she said. "So did you," he replied. "For the first time since the arena." She smiled. The law had made them bound, but mercy had made them dangerous. The reaction did not come immediately. That was the most frightening part. For 2 full cycles after the council ships pulled back, the galaxy stayed quiet. No messages. Number. Threats, no demands. News feeds spoke carefully, using words like review and deliberation. Too careful. Lady Valera knew better. "Silence means planning," she said. Elias agreed. "They're deciding whether I'm a problem or an example." The fortress felt different now. Not just a residence, but a symbol. Visitors gathered at the city edges. Merchants, officials, spies. All pretending to be something else. The maids noticed first. "They watch us," one whispered as they crossed the courtyard. "Every move. They always did," Lady Valera replied. "The difference is now they are afraid." That truth spread faster than any broadcast. A human had defeated a royal champion, refused ownership, defied the council and lived. For many across the empire, it was the first crack in something that had seemed unbreakable. Not everyone welcomed it. The first attack came at night. No alarm sounded. No warnings. Only a sudden flicker in the lights and a sharp, controlled explosion at the outer wall. Elias was already moving before the shockwave finished rolling. "Stay inside," he ordered calmly. Defense drones activated, locking the perimeter. Shapes moved in the smoke, trained, silent. Professional. Assassins. Lady Valera watched from a secure chamber, her heart pounding. This was her world again. Shadows, knives, political murder wrapped in clean words. The difference now was who stood in front. Elias did not charge blindly. He waited, studied, then moved with precise speed. Doors sealed, corridors shifted. Traps activated that only someone who understood systems, not brute force, could use. Within minutes, it was over. 3 attackers lay restrained, alive but helpless. Elias looked down at them, breathing steady. "Who sent you?" They said nothing. Lady Valera stepped forward. "They will not speak, but their gear marks them." She pointed to a symbol. "House Strelick, one of my former rivals." Elias frowned. "Former?" She met his eyes. "They believe removing me removes you." He nodded slowly. "They're wrong. The prisoners were handed over to neutral authorities. Not executed, not displayed." That choice shocked many watching quietly from afar. Mercy again, and again, it unsettled. The galaxy. The next day, official envoys arrived. Not soldiers this time, politicians. They praised Elias publicly, called him a stabilizing force, offered protection agreements, trade benefits, titles. Elias refused them all. "I'm not here to rule," he said, "and I won't be bought." That answer spread like fire among common citizens. It sparked something dangerous. Hope. Messages began arriving, quiet at first, then in waves. Workers, minor houses, even low-ranking officials. "You showed us another way. We didn't know refusal was possible. Be careful. They will try harder." Lady Valera watched Elias read them in silence. "You are becoming a symbol," she said softly. He sighed. "I hate symbols. You cannot escape them," she replied. "Only choose what they stand for." That night, the council made its move. A system-wide broadcast interrupted all channels. The High Council appeared, faces stern, voices united, human. "Elias Ward," the speaker declared, "your actions have destabilized imperial order. You will submit to oversight or be declared a hostile force." The words were careful, but the meaning was clear. Lady Valera felt the weight of history pressing down again. This was the moment where many bent, where survival demanded obedience. She turned to Elias. He was calm. "I will not submit," he said into the broadcast. "But I am not your enemy." The council scoffed. "You deny our authority." "I deny unjust authority," Elias replied. "There's a difference." The feed cut. Within hours, fleets began to move not toward the fortress, but around it. Blockades, pressure, isolation. "They want to make you disappear without war," Lady Valera said. Elias nodded. "Classic." She studied him, then spoke. The thought she had been holding back. "They will come for me next, use my past, my name." "They already tried," he said. "It didn't work. That doesn't mean I am safe." He turned to her fully. "Do you want to leave?" The question stunned her. "I can arrange passage, protection, somewhere quiet." Lady Valera looked at the stars beyond the walls. She thought of her old life, her throne, her fear. Then she looked at the human who had shattered a champion and refused to be a master. "No," she said. "I choose this." That choice mattered. Across the galaxy, lines were being drawn. Not between species, but between fear and courage. The council had wanted to contain a human. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, a human who would not kneel. And those who chose to stand beside him. The blockade tightened like a slow fist. Trade, ships were turned away. Communication relays were delayed. Fuel prices in the city tripled overnight. The council did not fire a single shot, yet the pressure was everywhere. "This is siege without blood," Lady Valera said as she studied the reports. Elias nodded. "They think I'll break quietly." The fortress adapted. Power was rerouted. Supplies were rationed with careful planning. Nothing dramatic, nothing wasteful. Elias worked with engineers, pilots, and even the maids. listening more than speaking. That alone shocked everyone. A master did not listen, but Elias did. They're not attacking yet. One technician said, "Why?" "Because they're afraid." Elias replied, "They want me to make the first mistake." Lady Valera felt a chill. "Then don't." "I won't," he said. "But I won't wait either." That night he called a meeting, not a council. Not a command, a conversation. The maids stood beside guards, engineers beside former nobles. No hierarchy. Just people. "They're trying to isolate us," Elias said simply. "So we connect instead." Lady Valera understood before he finished. "You mean outside the system?" "Yes," he said. "Human style." Small ships began to slip through gaps the council thought unimportant. Old trade routes, unregistered relays, personal contacts. Elias did not fight the empire head-on. He went around it. Messages spread quietly. Proof of council manipulation. Evidence of assassinations. Records of how the law had been abused for centuries. Not propaganda. Truth. The response was immediate and chaotic. Worlds questioned orders. Patrols hesitated. Some ships turned back, claiming system errors. The council panicked, and panic leads to mistakes. The attack came suddenly. No warning broadcast. No legal excuse. A strike force jumped directly into orbit, weapons hot. "This is it," Lady Valera said, watching the sky burn with engine light. Elias was calm. "Evacuate civilians first." "But the fortress is a target," he finished. "People aren't." Defense systems activated fully for the first time. Not to dominate space, but to buy time. Drones formed moving shields. Point defenses. Intercepted incoming fire with precise efficiency. The council ships expected fear. They met discipline. Elias did not shout orders. He trusted his people. Every unit knew their role. Every move had a purpose. Lady Valera coordinated from the command room, her voice steady. This was her element again, not as a ruler, but as a protector. "They're pushing the east flank," she warned. Elias adjusted routes instantly. "Let them." A council cruiser moved too close, confident. That was the mistake. Elias had studied their formations, their habits, their pride. A coordinated strike disabled the cruiser's engines without destroying it. The massive ship drifted, powerless, in full view of the fleet. Gasps echoed across open channels. "You could have destroyed it," Lady Valera said. "Yes," Elias replied. "But then they'd call me a monster." He opened a broadcast channel. "To the entire fleet. The ship is disabled, not destroyed," he said calmly. "Retrieve your people. Leave this system." The council commander laughed. "You think mercy makes you strong?" "No," Elias said. "Control does." There was a pause. Then, unexpectedly, another ship powered down its weapons. Then another. Confusion spread through the fleet. Orders conflicted. Doubt crept in. Lady Valera watched it happen in real time. The empire was built on obedience. Elias had introduced something far more dangerous. The choice. The council ordered a full retreat an hour later, blaming unexpected resistance. They lost more than ships that day. They lost certainty. When the last hostile signal vanished, silence filled the command room. The maids hugged each other. Some laughed. Some cried. Lady Valera turned to Elias. "You just challenged the empire, and lived." He exhaled slowly. "We did." Later, as repairs began and the city breathed again, Lady Valera joined Elias on the balcony. "You won't get another chance like that," she said. "They'll adapt." "So will we," he replied. She studied him in the starlight. "You could have taken power today. Declared yourself ruler." "I don't want a throne," Elias said. "I want a future where no one needs one." That answer settled something inside her. For the first time, she did not feel bound by law, fear, or duty. She felt chosen. Across the galaxy, reports spread of a failed suppression. Of a human who fought a fleet without conquest. Of a noblewoman who stood beside him by choice. The council had tried to crush a problem. Instead, they had revealed a truth. Humanity did not need permission to stand that, and once they did, the galaxy would never sit the same way again. The war did not return. That was how Lady Valera knew it was truly over. Weeks passed. Then months. Trade lanes reopened. Council fleets kept their distance. Official messages softened, filled with careful words like dialogue and cooperation. The Empire had learned a hard lesson. It could not force this human into a shape it understood. Fortress no longer felt like a fortress. It became a home. Elias refused the title of ruler, but people came anyway. Not to kneel but to speak. Minor houses, free captains. Workers tired of silent fear. He listened to all of them. Lady Valera watched as her world changed, piece by piece. One morning, Elias called her to the central hall. The maids were already there, standing calm and confident, nothing like the frightened figures from the arena days. "I'm ending it," Elias said simply. "Ending what?" Lady Valera asked. "The bond," he replied. "The law, all of it." A system console activated. Ancient code filled the air, restrictions, ownership clauses, binding seals. Elias had spent months studying the law that enslaved her. Now, he was tearing it apart. "Once I do this," he continued, "you'll be completely free. All of you." The maids froze. Lady Valera felt her breath stop. "You cannot undo ancient law without consequences." "I know," Elias said. "I'm ready." The system chimed. Binding nullified. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Lady Valera felt it. The pressure, the invisible weight she had carried since the arena, was gone. She was free. One of the maids laughed softly, then covered her mouth in disbelief. Another dropped to her knees, not in submission, but relief. Elias stepped back. "You owe me nothing. Stay if you want. Leave if you want. Choose." That word echoed in the room. Choose. Lady Valera walked toward him slowly. Every step was her own now. No law pulled her forward. No fear pushed her back. "You could have kept power," she said. "The galaxy would have accepted it." "I don't want acceptance," Elias replied. "I want change." She looked around the hall, at the people who had become something more than subjects. Then she made her decision. "I will stay," she said, "not as property, not as obligation, but as partner." The maids, one by one, spoke the same choice. The moment spread beyond the fortress. The council tried to hide it, but truth moved faster. A human had broken an ancient law, not with war, but with will. Across the empire, similar laws were questioned, challenged, refused. Not by humans alone, by everyone. Months later, Lady Valera stood again in the arena of Karzun, this time, not as a spectator, but as a witness. The walls still bore the marks of Goreth's victories, and his final defeat. A crowd gathered, watching in silence as Elias stepped into the light once more. Not to fight, but to speak. "This arena was built to prove strength," he said, his voice carrying across the stone. "But real strength is choosing not to dominate when you can." No one laughed. No one cheered. They listened. Lady Valera stood beside him, her head high, once bound by law, now bound by choice. She thought of the moment she watched her champion fall, of the fear that followed, of the human who should have been a monster, but wasn't. The galaxy had expected a conqueror. Instead, it had found something far more dangerous. A human who won and then let go.